get us a bus. You know what? I can get us a bus.
Every step of prayer, every breath a new beginning. Every step of prayer, every breath a new beginning. Oh, every step of prayer, every breath a new beginning. Every step of prayer, every breath a new beginning. Oh.
A step and a breath. This is Simon, in case you haven't met him. Simon was probably conceived on Iona.
I know that story if you want it.
In a minute. And my name's David. And it's possible, like you, that I was reborn on Iona. So what we hope to do tonight is something new, is to offer a new story, one that's never been told. And in part because we haven't discussed at all what we're going to do tonight, except with just a fragile breath of expectation. But it's the oldest story that there is. It's the story that has existed as long as stories have been told. It's the story of longing and pilgrims. It's the story of heartbreak and joy. It's the story of invitations and initiations. And I hope as well it's a story about praise and blessing. And these are all the gifts of the places we know as thin, the thin places. And so just a few thoughts about the thin. If you didn't know what a thin place looked like before you got here, you know now. There's a Celtic saying that the distance between heaven and earth is 3 feet. But here, and I love whoever wrote that lovely phrase, here the distance between heaven and earth is tissue paper thick. And I know as you've breathed and walked this amazing spot over these few days, you've had a sense of realizing how the old world and the new world are so close here, how the divine world and the everyday world are so close here, how the spiritual world and the earthen world, the bodily world, are so close here. And the invitation always is, and may we embody that more fully when we're not on this island. That's a chord, if I've ever heard one. So I want to just think a little bit about the difference between a thin place and a thin experience. You know, Anne said the other day that there were these places of life and death where we're moved into the mystery, particularly when a new life comes or when a beloved life goes, in those final first breathing moments. But I want to speak really specifically about a thin place, about the geography of a place. We ignore too much the geography that's around us all the time. And if it's true that the world is ensouled, which I think it's true, then that means that to to be aware of geography, that is literally an earth drawing, is an invitation for us also to see our soul's geography. What is written on your soul? And it's true for me at least that when I'm in a new place, the geography of the place, what is written in the divine, in the natural, in the Tao, in the rugged wearing away of wind and water on stone for century after century till there was no time, that informs how I understand my own soul. And so we can go to places that are fun or beautiful or take your breath away, yes. And yet there's a difference in what a thin place is. As though it were there always calling for us to appear. The sense of this is generational, is ancestral. Sometimes we can just lay on the ground and feel all of the life and the love and the loving and the blood that have been poured out. And we're here to remember, that is to put back together that great celebration of life force and attempts to be a full human being, to be at one with your place in the divine order of things. Sometimes I think that there are thin places that we just know about. Yes, Iona, we know about that. Lindisfarne, yes. I remember somebody, when I first went to Ireland, somebody was so in love with the rock at Cashel, right, where those kings had been seated for generations, hundreds of years. The king's seat was on that strange rock in Cashel. And he said, every time I set foot on that stone, I had come home, as maybe you felt like you've come home on this trip to Iona. But I do think that there are times when the place itself surprisingly will find us. Not a place that's on the map or in the spiritual guide to 110 spiritual things you must do before you die. But just a moment, a little solipse, is that the word I mean? A little spit of a moment when everything just is full of duende, full of both the bitter and the sweet, where the dancing and the praising are in one place, where your sorrow and your joy shimmer together, and you feel alive in a different way. You feel alive in a happy way because you're sad. You feel alive in a sad way because you know you're happy. My teacher, James Hillman, as he was dying, they wheeled him out. He had bone cancer, it was terribly painful, and they wheeled him out into the forest in Connecticut, and he lay there and he said, "It's all so beautiful. It's all so terrible." That, my friends, I think is what it means to be in a thin place, to recognize the entirety of our life force as possible. So here's what I know about a thin place for me, and maybe it's true for you. The thin place is also a place of threshold. What does that mean? That means there's a place that can be a gate or a well or a vision or a come hither. And you have a moment, maybe several moments, but the threshold may disappear. And the will, the courage, the curiosity has to align in a way where you say, yes, I'll go through. Now this is not an easy thing, and it's not for cowards. And it's also maybe not the right time. personal story, when I was a kid, that is to say before I was 20, I kept trying to get to the Christ in the Desert Monastery in Abiquiu, New Mexico. I went to school in New Mexico. I grew up in New Mexico. It's a lovely little monastery up in the hills. Merton had been there. Merton went. It's good enough for me. Every time I went 3 times. You know, the classical 3. And each time something happened that prevented me from going. The last time, you know, it's New Mexico. It's high desert, and the last time we were there, a flash flood appeared on the arroyo on the first dip down on the road up into the mountains of the monastery. Was in a boulder rolled down into my mentor's car, a new station wagon, and crashed into the side of it. And I said, I'm feeling a little bit like Jonah, and perhaps if I got out and walked, you could go and see the monastery. You see, it wasn't the right time. And there are times in Threshold that we just know that we're too young, we're too, well, you know, we can make excuses, but there are also real times that it's not right. And yet, the threshold still beckons. Now, what happens when we're at a threshold? All the old stories tell us that some price has to be made. And some other time when we're together and we have an hour, we can talk about thresholds and all the beautiful stories from the ancients who wanted to go through the threshold into the darkness, into the unknowing place, and the price that they had to pay to get there. I'll say for tonight that at least the price as I understand it, and here on Iona, in the great invitation of spirit and rock to come home, at least the price is that we have to be willing to be humble, to offer our humility as one of the gifts to give away so that we can be offered entrance. In my experience, the threshold can appear like a kind of veil. And sometimes physically you can feel the veil as you know, we live here in mist, right? Mm-hmm. To feel that on our whole being as we enter into the next step of our lives. I'm reminded of that song in this moment. What is it? I was blind, but now I see.
Amazing Grace.
Thank you very much. As though the veil itself is peeled away from our eyes, and the blindness of our everyday sight allows us to move forward. Another sense of that is the veil that we always wear, not as newlyweds yet, as brides yet, but the kind of veil that we wear so that we can endure the everyday life and so that people around us can bear us. Because if they could see the whole of us, they would be frightened and would run away, or at least that's the story we tell. Mm-hmm. And so part of this threshold is to remove the veil, to remove the mask, so that we can just be energetically whole and present. Two more thoughts, I think.
My songs are stacking up.
I know.
It's great.
Keep going. I'm just going to hum along.
No, you're inspiring. Adding them.
I was sitting on the marker today. Yes, I actually got to the marker, and that's some miracle in itself. And I was sitting there with the wind pouring over me and trying to think of what a veil was like as that wind was pouring over me, and I was getting colder and colder, and I was trying to decide if I could withstand this wind, and thinking how a threshold is often like a great wind, like a great Moses God who's breathing on us and keeping us at distance. We have to make the effort to walk through, and yet it seems like such a tremendous effort. And I suddenly had that word appear, dissolution. That to remove the veil was a kind of dissolution. And what is dissolution? It is to dissolve. In other words, to thin your solution. That's kind of fun, isn't it? Here we are with our ego and our decisions and our big lives, and we're going to, and yet if we can thin that way in which we've normally solved all of the problems, maybe that's a way to get through the threshold too. Yeah. So what beckons there in this place which beguiles us and shatters us or makes us limp or certainly inspires us, inspiration to breathe again. The spiritus in that word, to breathe again. What is in that place? And at least, and there's so many things to say, and I'm not going to talk all night because Simon wants to sing all night. But at least this, and I know you know this, but let me say it out loud. Presence. We have a sense of presence. We have a sense of presence. I'm not a God person, but I love that language where the God comes. The gods are alive. The ancient ones are here. All of the elemental energies which are us, which make our world, which make our history, which make our possibility, which are collapsing in part right now so that we are being engendered in fear and worry about what's to come. Those elemental realities are present to us. And so we can claim ourselves in a new way that we don't claim when we're not being challenged by stone and surf hour after hour, knowing that if it were winter out there, we would be huddled together in a rock cave 700 years ago with one little light and trying to stay warm, praying the Vikings weren't going to come and slaughter it and make it all pointless anyway. And if we are in fact present, if we're able to feel that, experience that even for a moment, then I think naturally, and I've watched you do this just over these few days, naturally we fall into a state of grace. We understand that grace is all around us, and therefore our gratitude, sister words, our grace and our gratitude also begin to flow out. And we're mindful and grateful for one another. And then to take that home, we have the invitation twofold. One, to really experience blessing. Not just our own blessing, and God, we're privileged, all of us, we're here. But also the responsibility and the opportunity to bless. To take some of this presence that's been made visible in this world of visible and invisible things. That the invisible has been made visible through our embodiment. And we can go home and bless one another and say, that was magnificent what you did. Thank you so much. I see you. Good luck with that. Yes, you can do it. And if we can bless one another, we also have an obligation to bless creation. Can we stop just eating creation, but take a minute and celebrate it, wish it well? And then finally, and this is where Simon and I have met so often, in the great element of praise. It's so easy to tear things apart. It's so easy to destroy institutions, to destroy lives and relationships. It's so easy to take bombs and take care of an entire group of people. It's so hard to build things and help sustain them. And when we praise this world, we praise it in a way that might help it sustain itself. Maybe we humans won't last here, but maybe we will. And in any event, the God needs praise. At least the God keeps saying in all those all those scriptures. You know, you ought to like pay attention once in a while and say thank you. Praise be to the gods. That's in every culture since the beginning of people crawling out of the mud and trying to understand what this mystery is. So final image, mystery. We live in this extraordinary mystery. It's present, it's alive. Let's bless it, let's praise it. We're never going to understand. Let yourself off the hook right now. Thomas More, he's a writer, you know him, and I was with him some time ago at a funeral, and Tom said, you know, the thing about mystery, it's mysterious. Here's my good friend Simon. The rest of the evening will probably be his.
David, you reminded me of the only request that came out of this afternoon, so I'm going to sing that, but how important it is for us to come alive in this world. If for praise, I'm thinking about praise as a way of seeing.
Lovely.
And earlier on we were talking about the artists who objected when they took the words like otter and fern and owl out of the children's dictionary. They were like, no, children need these words. They wanted to take them out so they could put in technology words. And
wow.
A bunch of artists were like, you can't do that. And they formed this project called the Lost Words. Project Lost Words Blessings, and this is one of the songs from that. But sometimes we learn what something is because we see the opposite of it. So when they take the words of otter and fern and all that, this whole song is full of the words that they took out of the children's dictionary. It demonstrated that we're not seeing. We're not seeing. Enter the wild with care, my love, and speak the things you see. Let new names take and root and thrive and grow. And even as you travel far from heather, crag and river, may you, like the little fisher, set this stream alight with glitter. And may you enter now as otter, without falter into water. Look to the sky with care, my love, and speak the things you see. Let new names take and root and thrive and grow. And even as you journey on, past dying stars exploding, like the gilded ones in flight, leave your little gifts of light. And in the dead of night, my darling, find the gleaming eye of starling. Like the little aviator, sing your heart to all dark matter.
Oh.
Walk through the world with care, my love, and sing the things you see. Let new names take and root and thrive and grow. And even as you stumble through macher sands eroding, let the fern unfurl your grieving, let the heron still your breathing, and let the silky swim you deeper, oh my little silver seeker. Even as the hour grows bleaker, be the singer and the speaker, and in city and in forest, let the larks become your chorus. And when every hope is gone, let the raven call you home.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
You've never heard that one before, have you?
I am.
No. Thank you. So that's called Spell Songs, the Lost Words Blessing. But I do think there is You could come here and you could be you could be so full of your own story that you don't see anything.
Yeah.
That you don't notice. And isn't that true of our lives that we are so used to? And one of the things that David and I teach are the Psalms. And so much of that is about calling out to Spirit and responding. Let me play you this one. This is one of my favorites.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. Psalm 8, a modern interpretation. Many named one beyond imagining when I contemplate the night sky. The cosmos which all unfolded from a speck, galaxies, stars, this beautiful earth. And who are we humans that you attend to us? Mere mortals in our tiny corner, and you love us. We are life come to knowing and feeling. The whole world is in our hands, plants and animals, oceans and ice caps, rainforest and ecosystem. Touch our hearts, O God, make us worthy of this trust. Help us care for life on this beautiful earth. Amen. You know, David, I think one of the problems with us modern people is we're too bloody clever.
Yes.
There used to be this learning disabled adult called Frankie who used to come to the Mac where I was working. And they had assumed when she was a child that she was cognitively impaired. And she wasn't. She was just blind and mostly deaf. So she didn't get the stimulation that children normally get, and she behaved like such a big child. I'll never forget, she was like a butch dyke, you know. One time she showed up with a girlfriend who was also learning disabled. It was really cute. She was one of my favourite guests. And she used to call our retreat centre Daddy God's house. Daddy God's house. And she used to just go and make mischief in the Abbey and had a great time. In the Abbey. But one of the things that she taught me was that if you were childlike and if you use your imagination, there's no problem talking to the holy.
Mm.
And that she saw this mystery in this house that was a place that I was managing that was so full of like broken heating systems and volunteers to manage and all these clever managerial things. But she saw it as Daddy God's house. And would save up her little bit of money so she could come back as often as she could. And I'm very grateful to Frankie because she taught me to not be so clever and to bring out my inner child as a way of responding to this incredible beauty without trying to be poetically Shakespeare. Just be Frankie and it would be okay.
There's a line of St. Teresa writes in a letter. She says, you know, anytime I think I'm having difficulty in prayer, I just pray like a child. And so far, he seems to understand.
But also she argues with God. There was one time she was going with a friend and they were crossing a river and all their I think the donkeys' sacks weren't tied on and all the baggage and all the food and everything got washed down the river and they got completely soaked. And she was so mad at God. She said, I understand, God, why you don't have very many friends. She was just like this whole kind of frustration, this like real honesty of relating to this being that's not a being, that's not there, but being very human about it.
Yeah, good.
Maybe I should sing this one. Actually, we'll sing this, and then I want to read the poem that I keep reading about Iona.
Yeah,
I keep reading it, and I've already said it once today, but might as well say it a second time. But I'll sing this because we just brought up to
We're all too clever to hear you, you know.
So this is called the Bookmark Prayer. And Teresa of Avila wrote it just before she died. They found it in the book she was reading. She liked books more than people. She was a bit like you, I think. I don't know that that's true, I just said that. You love your books.
I love my books.
Which is funny because I'm full-on dyslexic. And here we are working together.
Well, you're a book.
Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. Everything changes. I alone remain. Hold patience, for nothing is wasted. Presence in all things. I'm with you in all things. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. Everything changes. I alone remain. Hold patience, for nothing is wasted. Presence in all things. I'm with you in all things. You're welcome to sing along. Don't worry if you get the words wrong. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. Everything changes. I alone remain. Hold patience, for nothing is wasted. Presence in all things. I'm with you in all things. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. Everything changes. I alone remain. Hold patience, for nothing is wasted. Presence in all things. I'm with you in all things. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. Everything changes. I alone remain. Hold patience, for nothing is wasted. Presence in all things. I'm with you in all things. That really ties into that depth of presence that everybody feels on Iona. Everybody seems to feel it. I remember seeing teenage boys, young teenage boys, holding onto the railings at the jetty when the ferry was coming because they didn't want to leave. I've also seen children get off the jetty and kneel down and kiss the concrete.
Yeah.
Right, if children know to, like teenage boys know to do that, it's clearly reaching everybody. So this is New and Slight Poems, Iona, by Kenneth Stephen. He is a friend of mine. He lives just near Oban. And he, like me, came to Iona as a child. And his parents, they're both dead now, they were friends with my parents. And this whole book is, maybe I'll leave it out because it's good. But this is the one that I keep reading. It's just called Iona. Is this place really nearer to God? Is the wall thin between our whispers and God's listening? I only know the world grows less and less. Here, what matters is conquering the wind, coming home dry-shod and getting the fire lit. I'm not sure whether there is no time here or more time.
Yeah.
Whether the light is stronger or it's just easier to see. That is why I keep returning, thirsty, to this place that is older than my understanding and younger than my broken spirit.
It's a good poem.
James Finlay talks about how in our society we're suffering from depth deprivation. Depth deprivation. And I love the fact that that's not really a problem here. You'll have to try harder if you want to have shallow conversations, because you've not been having them. One more song, and then I'm going to pass back to you. See where you go from here. Oh, they're so good, all of them. But here's this one. This is by Peter Mayer. I was thinking about this one when you said that this was a place of joy and sorrow and all of it. The fullness of being. This is called Japanese Bowl.
Ah.
I'm like one of those Japanese bowls that were made long ago. I have some cracks in me, and they have been filled with gold. That's what they used back then, when they had a bowl to mend, and they did not hide the cracks. It made them shine instead. So now every old scar shows from every time I broke, and anyone's eyes can see I'm not what I used to be. But in the Creator's mind, all of these jagged lines make me more beautiful. I'm worth a much higher price. I'm like one of those Japanese bowls. I was made long ago. I have some cracks you can see. See how they shine of gold. Japanese Bowl by Peter Mayer. Write that down. Scott's still got canticle, but we could do that later.
No, I was trying to remember the whole line. Ring the bell that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. That's by that famous Canadian theologian, Leonard Cohen. Well, I had brought you a little blessing from your patron Saint Columbo here.
Oh, great. Bring it on.
You got the joke, yes, Columbo. It's short, but it's sweet, and I thought it was a nice way to step into this notion of blessing. You know, when we bless, it's not us doing something formal or holy even, but rather it's a way of gathering and reinforcing and re-inspiring that we can get back into the flow of things. The root of the word blessing is a word that means blood in one of those old Norwegian languages. And to be in the life force again, particularly if you've been shattered in some way, if you've fallen asleep, if your heart has stopped, if suddenly you wake up and 20 years has gone by and you don't know what the hell you did. To be re-invited back into the flow of things is a blessing. So here's something that was written about 580. It still works, I think. It's got some holy language in it. Can you stand it?
I love it.
Yeah, it's short. It's even better because it's short. My grandfather used to do the blessings at dinner. For him, and he was a pastor. He was a minister, Methodist minister. But if it went over 3 lines, he'd apologize. So this has got some thou language because it's a prayer, yes? It's a blessing, but it's also a prayer. And it starts out, be thou a bright flame before me. Now what's Simon talking about? What am I talking about? The ways in which we just can't see anything anymore. We're satisfied with just the blink of a video, and I'm a Netflix addict. My name is David, and I'm a Netflix addict.
Hi, David.
Well played, D'Artagnan. Be thou a bright flame before me, O God. It's in many ways a prayer we don't want to pray, because we know that there will be a responsibility if we are illumined by such light. And we don't know if we're up for it. We're all exhausted. This last decade particularly has just been terrible on the human heart. Our sensibilities of what's proper and allowed and what's permitted have been shattered. I hope that a civil society can remain, but if those intent on burning it down do so, how are we going to remember how to speak to one another again, or to build something together again, to have a library again? Well, one way is to hear Columba pray around 580, saying, Be thou a bright flame before me. If that flame could ignite the heart, could it ignite the hearth in which we could be family again? Be thou a bright flame before me. Be thou a guiding star above me. How's your North Star doing? Be thou a smooth path below me. Be thou a kindly shepherd behind me. Today, tonight, forever. Not bad for a simple guy floating across the ocean in a little skin boat.
He was a prince, you know.
Was he?
Mm-hmm. Aristocracy.
No wonder. No wonder he could afford a boat.
He also was trained by the top bards.
I actually knew that.
And his voice sounded like a melodious lion. So they say. Not that anybody knew what a lion sounded like.
Right. Or back then, melodious had no F, right?
Probably
It was
not.
It was for the
bad chord.
the bad chord.
And well, we don't know what music was like then.
Yeah.
It might have been quite different.
Yeah.
They also said he sounded like pealing thunder.
Pealing thunder.
Yeah.
No.
He had a big boomy voice. And it frightened. The Druids didn't want people to hear him singing because it was too powerful. Interesting. That's what we're told.
Works
by
for
Down
me.
and
Works for me. As you find a song, I'm going to read one more little one.
yeah, go for it.
This may be my favorite prayer of all time, if I can find it.
It's a love dogs.
You see where you are. See out there, right? You see, we got here how? We got here on a boat. Here's the prayer. Big sea, little boat. Dear God, be good to me. The sea is so wide, and my boat is so small.
Mm-hmm.
Once more.
Sure. I should have this already engraved in my heart. But
Tattooed.
not tattooed. No, I like the engraved part. No, it could be tattooed. You're right. Big sea, small boat. A little boat. Thank you, whoever said that. Someone was listening. This is even better. Big sea, little boat. Dear God, be good to me. The sea is so wide, and my boat is so small.
I want to pair that majesty with one of the oldest Irish poems that we know of. It's called the Song of Amergin. I am wind on sea. I am ocean wave. I am roar of sea, and I am bull of 7 fights. I am vulture on cliff. I am dewdrop. I am fairest of flowers. I am boar for boldness. I am salmon in a pool. I am a lake on a plain. I am a mountain in a man. I am a word of skill. I am the point of a weapon. I am God who fashions fire in the head.
Yes.
And that enormity of which our birthright places us in this creation, right? As well as our fragile ego, little boat self that can get snuffed out in a little second. Alright, let's go to bed. I wanted to play Canticle.
I would play Canticle now.
Bringing back to praise, because there's a little leftover bit I've been thinking about as we've been moving on, which is you don't have to be here to see the beauty, the enormity of the creator, or if you don't believe in a creator, the incredible majesty in creation to see with praise. You don't actually have to see with your own eyes. Like I'm going to sing Canticle of the Sun. So it's my setting of St. Francis's prayer, but we were just teaching on St. Francis, and one of the things that you rightly talked about was that when he created this prayer, he couldn't really see anymore. He had a terrible eye condition. He couldn't bear the light, and he couldn't walk. He had the stigmata, and he had a whole load of things going wrong with his body. So he wasn't like, oh, there's a little mountain stream, and there's some little bunnies, and there's like, oh look, there's the moon. It was like his love of this creation. He wasn't really able to engage in it anymore, but he still held the prayer aspect of it. So I want to say it's so easy for us here to respond to the beauty of this earth with our own human beauty and to praise it and to try and take care of it. But we could do that if we were in a slum in Glasgow.
Amen.
Most high, all powerful, precious God, no spoken word can hold your name. And praise be to you who births all life with all your creatures. Especially you, sir, brother, son, who is the day and is your light, a beauty so true to you. There you are, there you are. And praise be to you, my Lord, you are sister moon and the stars, bright precious heaven, there you are, there you are. And praise be to you, my Lord, you are brother wind and the air. Breath of spirit, there you are. There you are. Praise be to you, my Lord, you are sister water and gift of life, pure, essential, there you are, there you are. Praise be to you, my Lord, you are brother fire, friend through the night, strong and playful, there you are, there you are. Most high, all powerful, precious God, through Mother Earth we see your face. You who govern all of life, sustain and nurture all that is. With Sister Death, first and last breath, the key unlocking all we are. There we are. There we are. There we are. So it's part of the threshold of that tissue-thin place, that holy place, is about holding. There was a question for you, David, about that really realizing our fragility and our humanity, while also completely putting that aside and taking our place in the choir of creation, this incredible universe, placing the center out of us and into everything.
You know, we're trained to look through the telescope. And yet, somehow, to be in the thinness, the telescope turns around. And it's obvious suddenly how small we are. We run such a movie all the time, in which we are the stars, in which everybody pays attention to us. They know who we are, and whatever we do has great reverberations on the whole planet. And you know, I believe in some of that. I think we ought to be kind to each other. I think it's infectious. But to be humble, that's what I was trying to say. That one little bit that the thin place asks, if the threshold is true, it requires a gift to walk through, and at least we have to offer our true humility. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which also then, you know, well, maybe tomorrow I just did a podcast and we were talking about politics, of course, and how extraordinary it is to be part of a people, and the responsibility that comes from understanding your that the common good also means your happiness. Mm-hmm. I know that's not where you were going quite.
No, but I like it.
That's what appeared. And I also realized we're kind of at time, and I don't I have to close with something, and then you can close with something. Do you have something you want to close with?
No, not
Oh,
really.
that's too bad.
I got a whole concert tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, right. I just think it'd be a shame if we didn't have John O'Donoghue to bless us on the way out tonight. So I scribed it.
Did you do little creatures in the margins?
Do you like it? It's a little ant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know, Julian and I were really lucky to meet John right before he died in that last year. I'd met him one other time, but I think we both just felt like we had a new best friend. I really thought it was just so easy to talk with him. And it was one of those rare occasions where, and this is rare for men, I don't know your experience, but for me, it's rare that men get together that one doesn't want something from the other one. And we had nothing at stake, you know. So we could just say a few words to each other. We talked about Aristotle briefly, which cheered me up. And you know John is such a spirit of what Julian and Lyndon have been offering this week. And if you haven't really read him, it's great to listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds True has some wonderful recordings. They're often on sale, and just to hear that beautiful voice. And you know, John, he had a little whiskey once in a while, and he loved deeply and often, and he lived a life. He wasn't a monk in the world. He was a world in a monk. This is his blessing for presence, which is one of the words we were talking about tonight. It's not the shortest thing in the world, but I'll read it slowly, so it'll just seem like it goes on for days. Got a little laughter from that. Blessing for presence. And you can hold this as a blessing on your own heart, and maybe on your own threshold right now. Whatever thin place you've encountered, and maybe whatever is calling you, perhaps in you. Or maybe it's one of those old nagging callings that's been after you all your life. That you remember back when you were 3 and you didn't even have words for it yet, but you knew that they were asking you to do something. Maybe this is for that moment as well. It's called a blessing for presence. And he's talking right to you. May you awaken to the mystery of being here. Back to that word again. By the way, I spent some amount of internet time this afternoon trying to figure out if mist and mystery have the same root. They don't.
They should.
But they should, right?
Yeah.
I'm not making this up. I still think there's something in the old Indo-European that has to be true. But mystery, do you know where mystic comes from? That word in Greek means what? To close your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about ascension, transcendental escape from this world. No, it's entering the world. How? By closing your eyes. And John says to us, may you awaken to the mystery of being here. That's another way to read that sentence, of being here. And enter the quiet immensity of your own presence. May you have joy and peace in the temple of your senses. Julian Hughes. May you receive great encouragement when new frontiers beckon. May you respond to the call of your gift and find the courage to follow its path. May the flame of anger free you from falsity. Ha. May warmth of heart keep your presence aflame and anxiety never linger. May your outer dignity mirror an inner dignity of soul. May you take time to celebrate the quiet miracles that seek no attention. May you be consoled in the secret symmetry of your soul. That's a good alliteration. It's the secret symmetry of your soul. And he closes here. May you experience each day as a sacred gift, woven around the heart of wonder. If there's any whisper from the thin place, let's take that one home. May we experience each day as a sacred gift woven around the heart of wonder. Blessings be. Take us home. One Gnobi.
The peace of the earth be with you. Peace of the heavens too. Peace of the rivers be with you. Peace of the oceans too. Deep peace falling over you. God's peace growing with you. The peace of the earth be with you. Peace of the heavens too. Peace of the rivers be with you. Peace of the oceans too. Deep peace falling over you. God's peace growing in you. The peace of the earth be with you. Peace of the heavens too. Peace of the rivers be with you. Peace of the oceans too. Deep peace falling over you. God's peace growing in you. Dear people, thank you so much for listening
Thank you.
and for loving us.
Thank you.
And sleep well.
If anybody wants to help us put the chairs back, we will. Beautiful evening. Thank you both for.